The key to driving efficiency is not more collaborative tools. The answer starts with collaborative intelligence. It's the ability of individuals and teams and organizations to understand how collaboration is actually happening. It can improve business outcomes and is especially important to operations leaders who are focused on driving efficiency at their companies. This type of work has never been more important than right now. When work is siloed, it's nearly impossible to tap the intelligence needed to succeed. Today, leaders create goals in one tool, ops teams manage portfolios and projects in another tool, and then the team does their work in an array of different applications. These tools are disjointed and lead to silos and inefficiencies. But the Asana platform houses everything together in a single place. By connecting people, work, and business outcomes, it provides an unmatched repository for collaborative intelligence. Today, we'll share new features that'll help you tap into this intelligence to drive strategic decision-making and increase operational agility. Let's see how Phoenix, a fictitious international clothing company with 20,000 employees, can use collaborative intelligence to reach their goals faster than ever with Asana. To show this in action, I'll pass it off to Asana product lead, Paige Costello.
Due to high costs and a dip in sales, Phoenix missed last year's fiscal targets. This means the company needs to make big changes to stay in the game. It's why the C-suite has set a new goal: increase net profits by 20% by the end of the year. This requires more efficient collaboration to increase sales and reduce operational costs. It's up to the strategic operations team to bring this goal to life. In the past, the ops teams used spreadsheets and project management tools to first share goals and then define supporting work streams. These disparate tools led to silos. The result was more meetings, more emails, and more confusion. But now, with Asana goals, they have a clear way to connect goals to the work happening throughout the organization. All the work that supports a goal, from the portfolios to the projects, all the way down to individual tasks, are clearly connected. A critical revenue driver for Phoenix this year will be the launch of their new, competitively priced clothing line. Let's see how their strategic ops lead uses Asana to spot issues and improve processes across the organization. Asana's new exec reporting capabilities give her a quantified look at how Phoenix is tracking towards their profitability goal. She has complete visibility from a budget and a times perspective, thanks to the new time tracking feature. With this expanded intelligence, she can see that costs are dramatically higher than expected. If nothing changes, there's no way the team will meet its profitability goal. But she has a solution. She'll increase budgetary oversight by creating a new budget approval process. She builds a project template and, with Asana's new roles capability, prescribes exactly which roles are needed throughout the approval process. Now, no matter who leaves or joins the department, the right people will be included. With this scalability, she can quickly and confidently implement the workflows across teams. Every department will go through the right due diligence to reduce costs, and the workflow will be seamless, thanks to automated steps with integrated tools like Microsoft and Slack. This budget review template is just one of the many types of templates you can create in Asana. The ops lead has access to real-time reporting on workflows across the organization, and over time can spot trends and additional cost-cutting opportunities. For example, the lead sees that Phoenix is spending a ton with their third-party logistics vendor, but Asana shows her that the internal logistics team actually has bandwidth to take on more work. Great! Rather than outsourcing so much work to a third party, Phoenix can take that work in-house. The savings here would have a real impact on the company's bottom line, but getting every team across Phoenix to reroute their logistics requests to the in-house team could take months. Not with Asana. Now, the ops lead can update multiple workflows at once without a single meeting. From her retail lifecycle template, she takes the automation that routes the tasks to external vendors and instead sends it directly to the internal team's inbox. Voila! This change goes into effect across all 72 related workflows instantly. This capability to improve workflows at scale is called bundles, and it's already in beta today. With this update, Phoenix has saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in just the first week. And with automatic progress roll-ups, everyone can see how these savings are helping the company progress towards its goal of cost reduction. With Asana as their central work hub, the ops team can harness the power of collaborative intelligence across teams to save Phoenix millions in just a few months. Now, to see how one department at Phoenix is putting their goals into action, I'll pass it to our Chief of Staff for Product, Victoria Chin.
After running their goal-setting process in Asana, the marketing team and their cross-functional partners are aligned on the goal of generating $50 million in revenue through the launch of their 2024 clothing line. The launch budget has gone through the review process, and the campaigns lead is ready to kick off this year's biggest revenue driver. From the clothing launch template, he can see exactly which roles he needs to include. To make sure the people he has in mind have capacity, he takes a look at the cross-functional team's workload. Soon, with Asana's workload, he'll be able to assess bandwidth, not just of the marketing department, but of all the teams collaborating on this campaign. This view of collaborative intelligence helps him see how different people's time is being spent across projects, so he can make informed resourcing decisions. No other tool lets you see cross-functional resource allocation in real time like this. It looks like everyone on the legal team is at capacity. This is a big problem. If they don't have bandwidth for contract negotiations with Phoenix's agencies, it could impact the campaign's launch date. He refers to the project's critical path. On-time project completion is a must to maximize revenue from this launch. There's no wiggle room here, but he spots an opportunity. Since it normally takes a lot of follow-up over email to finalize contracts, legal is scoped for 2 weeks of contract negotiation. But there's no reason it should take so long. There's a clear solution to this inefficiency. With the new Gmail integration, he can ensure that the agency is automatically updated as soon as the contracts are ready to review. Each iteration of the contract will get to the agency immediately. This will cut the length of the negotiation process in half. Now, he can subtract a week from the contract negotiation task. With this update to the timeline, the marketing team will have the legal support they need to negotiate the best price with agencies and start driving revenue as soon as possible. From spotting resourcing risks early to balancing capacity, the campaign's lead is creating agility for the entire cross-functional team. Now let's fast forward and see how contracts are progressing. With Asana's new integration with DocuSign, cross-functional teams can see the status of which vendors are secured, all without leaving Asana. Looks like the contracts are moving along really quickly. Phoenix as a company is making great progress. They are operating more efficiently than ever before, and with Asana's Salesforce integration that's already live in product today, this progress is reflected across revenue targets right in Asana. Costs are down, thanks to stronger budget oversight, and the 2024 launch helped the marketing team reach their $50 million revenue goal. Plus, the sales, finance, and product teams have all achieved their KPIs. With this increased efficiency, Phoenix has reached its top-line 20% profitability growth goal. Now, I'll hand it back to Alex to recap what we covered.
Operational changemakers are rising to the moment and helping organizations operate with more agility to meet the times. But to make an impact and deliver on business plans, they need access to collaborative intelligence. Only Asana can surface this intelligence across teams and tools. With this wealth of insights, change agents can help leaders make data-informed decisions, drive efficiency, and focus teams on what actually matters. If you want to learn more about anything we've covered today, please don't hesitate to reach out to your Asana rep.
Hello, and thanks everyone for joining our Asana Forward breakout session for IT leaders. The topic for today's conversation is streamlining operations to meet business objectives. My name is Amrita Suresh, and I head the marketing technology here at Asana. We're very excited to be joined by Gregory Daniels, Senior Manager, Technical Program Management at Zoom. Earlier, Dr. Hines from the Work Innovation Lab told us how critical effective collaboration is to driving business efficiency. There are unique challenges IT teams face in facilitating this collaboration. In this session, we will be discussing how Zoom uses Asana to create and automate processes that streamline strategic initiatives across the business. So here is the agenda for our conversation. First, we're going to address some of the barriers that Zoom has overcome to create more efficiency and streamlined processes. Then we'll get into how Greg and team implemented a strategic prioritization framework to help his team manage requests and negotiate with business stakeholders. And then finally, we'll wrap up with best practices, both within the IT group and with cross-functional partners. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Greg. Welcome. We're really excited to have you.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, let's dive in. Can you share some of the challenges you and your team faced that led you to implement Asana?
Absolutely. So there were 3 interrelated challenges we faced that ultimately led us to implement Asana. Those were unclear processes, information silos, and alignment, or a lack thereof in some cases. So when we first started looking at Asana in 2019, I believe it was, we were actually doing really great at a team level. So we had that alignment, we had information sharing, and we had clear process. But when projects and work transcended the team level and became cross-functional in nature, that's where there was sometimes a gap. So we were looking for a platform that was going to help us build those organization-wide scalable processes, information sharing, and ultimately alignment on priorities.
Absolutely. These are some of the issues I can definitely relate to being on the tech side of things. With such a fast growth that Zoom has seen, it's natural to see pain points, inconsistencies, and silos. You talked about alignment being a key challenge. Could you throw more light on how your team approached the prioritization today?
Yes, definitely. This is actually one of my favorite topics. I'm going to unleash my program management nerd for a few minutes here. So a lot of organizations and teams will use the Eisenhower matrix. They'll look at urgency and importance when it comes to priority, or they'll look at value and effort when it comes to priority. But we actually do something a little bit different in IT at Zoom. So we look at business value, and we have that there on the y-axis. And then we look at deliverability. And deliverability, it's different than effort. So effort's a part of deliverability, but not all of it. With deliverability, we're really looking to figure out if we can actually deliver on something. So for us, deliverability encompasses goals. Do we know the goal of any project or any effort? Is it clearly defined? We want to know scope, time, cost. We want to know the triple constraint. We want to know if we have the skills and knowledge in-house to do something. And then if so, if those people are available. So all of those factors go into a deliverability score for us. And this framework has been very successful for us. It's helped us figure out if a project comes to us and it's seemingly high priority, if it really is high priority. And we've built this framework directly into our project intake form in Asana.
That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like a very effective framework. So once you've put this in place, tell us more on how you action on this.
Absolutely. So whenever we get a new project request from a requester, it's being evaluated according to this framework. So people have a tendency in their project requests to write, I need tool XYZ, especially if you're going to an IT team, right? But that's actually not a problem. That's a solution. So we ask questions in our Asana form to really tease out the problem that requesters are trying to solve. So we ask the requester questions about business value. Is this problem solving for a customer issue? Is it affecting top line or bottom line revenue? Is it pertaining to compliance commitments? And we also ask questions that help us begin to understand the scope of any new ask. So we've structured our form deliberately to compel the requester to really think through their problem and what they're looking to accomplish when they're submitting a request to IT. IT teams tend to manage a very diverse body of work. So my team alone, we manage projects across IT support, infrastructure, network, and emerging information knowledge content strategy function, and security and compliance. So with all of these potential areas of work, we need to make sure that we're prioritizing the projects that are going to have the most impact for the business. So building our particular prioritization framework into an Asana request form, having objective variables to weigh requests against, we're able to prioritize faster, we're able to respond faster to requesters, and ultimately we have transparency in decision-making as it relates to what we're going to work on today and what we're going to work on in the future.
This sounds like a large portfolio of work. So tell us more on how does your team manage the work requests on an ongoing basis?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So when we receive a new project request through our intake form, it feeds directly into a project in Asana that we use specifically to ingest, analyze, and prioritize requests. And we have a number of custom fields in there that feed from that form, so we can quickly do a spot evaluation of the priority. And then, of course, we'll work with the requester to confirm that priority. So once we've determined that a piece of work, it is high priority, we get it committed to a specific time frame. Could be this quarter, the next 2 quarters, the time frame will vary. And then that project leaves this specific Asana project we use to ingest requests and goes over to our IT portfolio. And that's when we start to look at what methodology we're going to need to use. Are we going to need to use waterfall or agile? What's the better tool for the job at hand? And the reason we started asking this question pretty early on is because we want to know what templates we're going to use for the project living in our portfolio. So are we going to use waterfall templates or agile templates? And my team has created a number of these that we use again and again to manage work. And what's really nice about these templates as well is that they're substantive enough where we can use them as a passive teaching tool for new PMs. New PMs can manage their first few projects using one of these templates, and they'll see what milestones we typically need to hit along the way for a project. So they'll know when to ask for a review from a key stakeholder or when to loop in the business partner to have a conversation. So they're great teaching tools as well. So with my team then focused in the portfolio at the project level, I can then step back and manage at that portfolio level.
That's great. Thank you. Now we talked about prioritization framework and methodologies and how Asana has been so instrumental for you and your team. Can we dig a little more into how you use Asana's portfolio capability? Mm-hmm. I would love to know how you maintain visibility into your initiatives.
Absolutely. So our IT products and programs portfolio, our IT infrastructure portfolio, it's my team's source of truth for everything we're working on at a given time. So all of our high priority projects, our commits for the quarter, they're in that portfolio and they're actively updated. And what my team does is quarter over quarter, we're working on 3 to 5 high priority projects, large scale projects per person. And these projects, they may take multiple quarters, but that's generally the heuristic we use to make sure that people have just enough, not too much work. And having this portfolio as a source of truth, it enables me to keep an eye on bandwidth and make sure that we're laser focused on the priorities that are going to have the most impact for the business. The other thing that we use this portfolio for is visibility with management and leadership. So when I'm meeting with my manager every week, I share screen using Zoom meetings, share my Asana portfolio. So there's that Zoom Asana synergy right there. And we go through that portfolio. So my manager knows what I'm working on, what the team's working on. And we've structured the portfolio in a way that is useful for updating people up, down, and across the organization. So our portfolio is going to contain status, on track, ahead, behind. It's going to contain a field that indicates if leadership needs to do anything in a given week, right? So do we need a project sponsor or a leader to make a decision, help us unstuck something that's stuck? Leaders typically want to know, okay, it's good to know the project status, but do I need to do something this week? And then we have owner, priority, project phase, and type of project, which is important for the way that we work at Zoom. So having all this information thoughtfully structured in a portfolio, it gives us the visibility we need across the organization. It helps inform decisions, and essentially having this place as a source of truth for my team, it helps us make decisions about reprioritization as events unfold, as business needs change.
Great, thank you. That was a very powerful insight into how best you can use Asana. So the technical program management role is a very cross-functional and collaborative role in any company. So tell us more on how you connect the technical and the non-technical teams today using Asana.
So Asana has actually been very useful for this purpose within Zoom. So we have our engineering, our technical teams in Jira, and then pretty much all other teams in Asana. So having a native Asana Jira integration was really crucial for us. And a great example of how Asana has brought these two groups together would be new product releases at Zoom, say an internal beta release. So an engineering team, they would finish preparing the internal beta. It's ready for use and testing internally. And they'd close a task in Jira that would close a corresponding task in Asana, and that corresponding task would kick off work with marketing, sales, and our group in IT. So we know to help them ultimately deploy this internal beta. Before, this was a manual process. And of course, anytime something's a manual process, subject to human error. So we wanted to streamline this as much as possible. And that's what Asana's enabled us to do. So now all of the groups at Zoom have visibility into upcoming product releases, internal betas coming down the pipeline, and we can prepare much more in advance, much more completely.
Great, amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Greg. Now I want to shift gears a little bit. Let's talk more on the cultural aspect of things, on how important it is to drive adoption of a tool. You were a part of the team that adopted Asana at Zoom. You were also a founding member of Operational Excellence Community at Zoom. So can you tell us more about that and how it helped boost adoption of Asana at Zoom?
Certainly. So I was fortunate to be a part of this team that formed the Operational Excellence Community at Zoom. And Operational Excellence Community, it's an all-volunteer, Zoom-led initiative. It effectively plays the role of a supportive PMO, but much more democratic and much more organic in its evolution. So the Operational Excellence Community is really shaped by Zoom needs instead of trying to dictate them. And it's a great knowledge repository within Zoom. So it's going to have, from all different groups and PMs across the company, templates, frameworks, best practices, lessons learned, all of this knowledge that you'd want to have when you're starting any new initiative. And from an IT perspective, I was able to bring the templates that we've created in Asana and share them org-wide through the Operational Excellence Community. And I know I've seen some adoption of these templates across Zoom, which has been really nice to see. And conversely, I've taken Asana practices from other groups, such as the security group, and brought it back to our group, and in particular, goals. So it's been a great way to really share knowledge about how to get the most from the platform.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you for sharing that insights. You've been instrumental in transforming your team's processes and how the work is managed in Zoom using Asana. Can you tell us what's changed since then?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot has changed for the better, but there are three things that come to mind. So increased IT efficiency, better prioritization, or greater focus on what matters most, and more effective cross-team collaboration. So we've been able to increase IT efficiency and efficiency working with our partners across the business, having Asana and my team's portfolio as a source of truth. Having it as a source of truth, we're able to quickly, reliably update stakeholders and give leadership the visibility they need into what's going on. So we're able to spend more time doing work as opposed to work about work, which is really crucial. The second thing that I think has changed significantly is prioritization. From a prioritization perspective, we've been able to focus the IT team on driving the biggest results for the business, focusing on the work that matters most, essentially focusing on the work that's going to move the needle at Zoom. So that's been an excellent change. And operationalizing our prioritization framework within the way we work in Asana was crucial to this. And last, we strengthened collaboration across our technical and non-technical groups. So tying together technical groups in Jira with non-technical groups in Asana, metaphorically, figuratively, it's like Asana is a bridge. Everybody's now walking across this bridge and meeting each other and finding synergy and opportunities for collaboration. And that's been probably, for me, the nicest thing to see.
Thank you, Greg. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for sharing your insights. We are so proud to work with customers like Zoom to help drive efficiency and impact. Thank you again for your time, and hopefully this conversation was valuable for all the IT leaders in our audience today.
Of course, I'm happy to share my team's successes that we've had with Asana.
Amazing. Thanks again. And if you want to learn more about how Asana can drive the type of impact and outcomes that Zoom experienced for their team, please don't hesitate to reach out to your sales rep or visit us at asana.com/sales. We hope you find this conversation valuable and want to thank you for your time and attention. And the recording of this conversation along with other resources would be sent to you via email. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you to all of you for joining this breakout session of Asana Forward, dedicated to operations and PMO leaders. I'm Jana Beisfinger, head of our work management office here at Asana. We're very excited to be joined by Amanda Howell, Director of Portfolio Management and PMO at T-Mobile. So earlier, you heard about how critical collaboration is to business success, and there are unique challenges that operations teams face in facilitating this collaboration. Today, we'll talk to Amanda about how she has and her team has overcome these challenges. But before we dive in, a few housekeeping items. Our moderators are here to answer any questions you might have about Asana. Just use the chat feature. And then after we wrap up, we'll be sharing the recording of the session with you via email. Amanda's been with T-Mobile since 2018, and in that time, she established a PMO organization from the ground up, transformed her team's end-to-end processes, and ensured the successful launch of T-Mobile high-speed internet to over 2 million customers nationwide. In this session, we'll be discussing how T-Mobile uses Asana to create and automate processes that streamline strategic initiatives. So here's what we're going to cover. First, Amanda will assess some of the barriers T-Mobile faced to improve efficiencies, along with learnings about how those can be overcome. Then you'll learn how Amanda improved end-to-end processes with Asana to streamline the releases of over 100 initiatives. And then finally, we'll wrap up with the differences Amanda has seen in her team and business since leading the charge to centralize all of this work. Now that you know what's to come, I'd love to introduce and welcome Amanda. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the introduction, Jana. It's great to be here.
Okay, Amanda, I'd love to just dive right in. So as you think about the performance of your team and organization, what are some of the top challenges that you've been focused on solving?
We focused on solving 3 key challenges. The first was a lack of consistency and standardization across the team's work. Everyone had their own definition of what it meant to be organized. This led to inconsistent ways of doing work. Every team had their own process, had their own tool set. That works when they're only working within their team, but when we try to work cross-functionally, it doesn't scale. The second challenge was informational silos. Everyone worked independently. There wasn't accountability across the teams, which led to some lack of quality in work. As we all know, most projects are cross-functional. You have to work with product, marketing, engineering, test, design, name it. There's tons of teams. But if there wasn't a way to track interdependencies between those teams or between the projects, we weren't able to see an overall timeline of events. This led to friction between teams and often delays in our efforts. And the third is our response to changing business priorities. We all know priorities are always going to change based on the business needs. In order for us as leaders to make quick decisions or pivot the business, we need high-level visibility into all the work being done, a project repository, and real-time reporting. It can be difficult to aggregate all this information across a number of tools. It can also impact our ability to get true sense of timelines. Overall, our challenges impacted our ability to inform leadership on the source of truth around our portfolios. We needed to implement new processes to transform our ability to scale at the level that we needed to support the business.
Oh man, I know those challenges are definitely resonating with people here today. I'd love to hear some examples of how you've used Asana to solve these business challenges and enable your team to hit scope, budget, and also schedule goals.
Yeah, we jumped in with needing to standardize an end-to-end process, all the way from intake to launch. The Asana project templates really helped us be able to get something that could be used across the board. Being able to start with a skeleton of work and have folks make changes based on the needs of their project allowed us to make sure that important key milestones and tasks weren't going to be missed, yet allowing them to be able to add and remove things as necessary to adapt to the needs of the specific initiative. This allowed us to be more efficient and productive with our time because we weren't starting every plan from scratch.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. I feel like one of the hardest parts of kicking off a new project is just getting started. It can often be daunting, especially when you don't have an established process to follow. And I love to see how your team has been able to put best practices right at everyone's fingertips. Now, so once an employee has chosen a template aligned with their project goal, what additional features does your team rely on to streamline the work?
The dependencies functionality is great. We're able to connect things from projects as well as tasks to make sure that we're accounting for everything that could happen within an initiative. By tracking our dependencies, we're able to see the clear blockers because we can't start one thing potentially without another, and address any bottlenecks that may be occurring. This also gives us a true sense of an end-to-end timeline so that we can set expectations with our leaders. Another function we really like is the custom fields. We're able to add things that are important to our business. We can track priority, the stage of the work. We can even include risks and issues. We're also able to take custom fields a step further by implementing advanced search. We can see high priority tasks that are due within the next 2 weeks and implement that in our daily stand-ups or our team meetings.
This is great. Can you share a specific example of a project template you've streamlined in Asana that's drastically improved your team's efficiency?
One thing we go back to very often is our launch day support room tracker. When you're taking something to market for the first time, it can be hectic. There could be pure chaos and sometimes even panic because something has gone wrong. But we all know as much as we can plan and try to mitigate things ahead of time, things will happen on a day of launch. We're able to leverage our launch day tracker to address anything that may come up at the time of an issue. From there, we link the Asana task into a Jira ticket. That way, our develop and test teams can go address it in the system they operate in on a daily basis. But what's nice about that is that the operational teams can continue to operate out of Asana and see the real updates coming from the Jira ticket so that we know when something is resolved directly in the launch day tracker.
Wow, I love how you're addressing customers' needs faster with the Asana Jira integration. So now that we've gotten a look at how your teams are using Asana, I'd love to learn more about how you're keeping T-Mobile's leadership up to date on the status of the work that you're coordinating in Asana.
We use the Asana portfolio management page to help align our leadership team. This is a view that we take to our daily stand-ups, but also to our leadership syncs. Our project managers are updating the status updates on a weekly basis. Our leaders have all the information they need at their fingertips. And if they want to do a deep dive to understand more about a specific initiative, they can just click in.
And is there a view where leaders make plans to shift priorities? How does Asana help them be more agile themselves?
As I mentioned earlier, we're big fans of custom fields. So when we include the priority field within our portfolios, we're able to identify to our leaders the priorities within our portfolio. And if we need to make trade-off decisions based on resources or shifting priorities, we're able to make the change directly into the portfolio. This also helps during roadmap planning to make sure that we have the right decisions made within the portfolio. And if we decide that we need to deprioritize work, we can easily change the status to on hold. The great thing about putting something on hold is the ability to pick it back up when the time comes. The resources don't have to invest additional time by starting over or trying to come up with ways on where we were at before. We put it on pause, but we can quickly pick it up again.
Okay, so now that you've transformed processes and the way your teams manage work in Asana, what kind of differences have you seen for your team or for the business for that matter since leading the charge to centralize all this work?
So once we implemented Asana, we saw 3 major changes. We were able to increase our efficiency with our cross-functional projects. You're tracking work, you're hitting your deadlines, but you're also holding the key teams responsible for their elements of the initiative. And you're able to mark the interdependencies between those tasks. This reduces duplication of effort if they were in different tools, but it also increases our easy access for our leadership team. We no longer have to go create PowerPoints that replicate information that's already been built by the team. As an example, we've increased our efficiency with complex cross-functional initiatives like the launch of our T-Mobile high-speed internet. This new tooling and processes has allowed us to hit our key metrics as a business, things like net activation and churn. Secondly, increase leadership visibility. Because the leaders have visibility into our portfolio, we're able to give them real-time updates on any risks and issues. That way they can be addressed and escalated early as needed. They're also able to make informed decisions about any trade-offs or priority changes that are necessary in order to run our business. And last, but certainly not least, we saw an increased ability to have continuity overall and more agility within our business. As I mentioned, priorities are always going to be changing based on the business needs. But with Asana, we were able to more quickly pivot teams to the right priorities and reduce the amount of delay on context switching. We were also able to make critical decisions about where to use our resources. Capacity comes up all the time when we're trying to run a productive and efficient business. When all of our information's in Asana, we're able to ramp up the teams faster and drive our initiatives forward with much less onboarding.
Wow, thank you, Amanda, so much for the great walkthrough of Asana. I'm personally super energized hearing how you've been able to accomplish so much with Asana in such a short time. So as you think about the year ahead, what's next for you and your team?
We're always discovering new ways to use Asana. One thing we love about Asana is how they're always coming out with new features. I'm excited to know more about the roles and project templates. I mentioned how we definitely leverage templates, but the ability to take that and implement faster assignments based on the roles is going to help us tremendously. Many of the teams within our company may not all be using Asana. So the ability to maybe know more about the app rules and connect tools that teams do use in a seamless fashion is also something of interest. One thing we've been tasked with for the year is to transition to a more agile methodology. I'm really excited to see how Asana's connectivity and flexibility can help us with this effort.
Well, we can't wait to see the success you and your team drive this year. Thank you again, Amanda, for your time, and hopefully this conversation serves as inspiration to many other leaders in the audience who've tuned in to learn from you today.
Of course, I'm a huge fan of Asana, and my team's job would not be the same without it.
Thank you for joining us today at Asana Forward. If you have any questions about any of the content we covered, from collaborative intelligence to the features that we launched, or you just want to learn what Asana can do to drive the types of outcomes that T-Mobile experienced, please don't hesitate to reach out to your Asana rep or contact us at asana.com/sales. We hope you found this valuable and want to thank you for taking the time to join us. Keep an eye on your email as we'll be following up with post-event resources, including a recording of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Hello, and thank you all for joining our Asana Forward breakout session for marketing and media leaders. I'm Dana Barrett, head of inbound marketing here at Asana, and I am so excited to be joined by Julia Rowley, director of digital promotions at Live Nation. Earlier, Dr. Hines from the Work Innovation Lab told us how foundational collaboration is driving business outcomes. Today, we'll talk with Julia about how she and her team have streamlined collaborations in their promotions workflows. But first, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. This session will be about 15 minutes long, and our moderators are here to answer any questions you may have about Asana. Just use the chat feature. After we wrap up, we'll be sharing a recording of this session with you via email. In this session, we'll cover challenges Live Nations faced and inefficiencies that led to delayed campaign starts, how Live Nations streamlined their promotional launches to run hundreds of sponsored promotions annually to their fan base, and what's next for Live Nation, and how the team plans to continue to drive efficiency. So let's get started. It's great to have you here today, Julia.
Thanks, Dana. Excited to be here.
To get started, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do at Live Nation?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Rowley, the Director of Digital Promotions at Live Nation. My team sits on the promotion side of Live Nation's sponsorship division, and I oversee a team that manages the build and launch of all of our sponsored digital promotions, such as sweepstakes, contests, and instant wins. Over the course of last year, we worked with 46 sponsors and launched 116 promotions.
Those are such great achievements, Julia. Can you tell us about some of the challenges you faced in supporting your team's business priorities?
Well, the bottom line was our processes, they just weren't efficient, and it was really slowing us down. There were a couple of key challenges that really needed solving. For one, we just didn't have a centralized workspace. We were using numerous different communication channels, which led to constant searching through email threads and Slack conversations in order to track and confirm vital updates and information. And in an effort to track our work, we used this bloated multi-tabbed Excel spreadsheet that we kept up on Box. We referred to it as the promo packet, and it needed to be manually updated whenever there were new assets, update the timelines, or copy changes. Second, information sharing with cross-functional partners was inefficient. Anytime a promotions manager wanted to kick off a new project, they'd need to go to the spreadsheet, find the right tab, fill out the request information. This was fine for kickoff, but changes communicated via Slack and email were not always getting updated in the promo packet. And this resulted in a lot of inconsistencies or missing information, and all the back and forth was really adding up. At certain points, it didn't feel like we were collaborating with our teammates. It felt more like we were just nagging them to update the promo packet, and it was just becoming an us versus them dynamic, and it was very unproductive.
I can only imagine that this sprawl of information was not only hard on your team, but also challenging for you as a manager.
It was. As a manager, it was difficult for me to get a pulse on all the projects in progress, especially once I had a fully remote team. This hindered our ability to resolve potential roadblocks before we hit them, which created a reactive environment where promotion timelines were either delayed or there was an intense rush to get everything done on time. We were really at a pivotal fork in the road where optimizing our processes to be more efficient would better equip my team to deliver quality work to our sponsors faster, and ultimately help us scale the amount of promotions we can support for our business. And that is where Asana came in.
I'm curious about how you used Asana to overcome these challenges. Can you walk me through your promotions processes and describe how you revamped your workflows using Asana?
Yes, of course. First, to kick off a new project, promotion managers start by submitting an Asana form that my team created for information intake. The form helps guide the requester to provide all the information my team needs to get started on the project. Then, once that request is received, we create an Asana project, which acts as our end-to-end workspace. My team uses a library of Asana project templates we created for each different promotion type. They include a step-by-step process and deliverables needed to complete the design, build, and launch of that promotion. For example, we have one for sweepstakes, another one for hashtag contests, and so on. These templates have helped us get project plans coordinated and begin work faster. And they've also made bringing new hires up to speed on our standard processes much easier. So all the tasks they need to do are just right there in the project.
I love hearing how our customers can build process consistency with templates. Once your team creates a project, how do you loop in cross-functional partners?
Well, once a project is created, our cross-functional partners each have a section they work from. The pre-launch section includes tasks for the promotion managers. The digital section is for my team. And then our project manager is responsible for the post-launch section. Then we coordinate review and feedback, or communicate updates, or if anything changes via the comments. So all the information is exactly where we need it. This helps my team stay consistently aligned and keeps my meetings as productive as possible because we know exactly where to find the information we need whenever we need it.
That's great. With your team working on over 100 promotions a year, many of these projects are probably running simultaneously. As a manager, how do you keep tabs on the sheer volume of work that your team manages?
So much of our job is like spinning plates and juggling and just being able to manage such incredible volume. So it's important for me to be able to get that bird's eye view. From the point our new project intake form is submitted, I have visibility of that request within the context of my team's workload. I created an Asana rule that when the form is submitted, it triggers a new entry in my digital team tracker, which I use to track all the work in progress and in real time. This automation alerts me that a new project's been created and helps me better track progress and who's working on what across my team at all times. This tracker is crucial to help me manage my team's bandwidth and spot potential roadblocks before they become a problem.
It sounds like centralizing all of your information in one place has been a game changer for you and your team. I know your team uses Slack as well as Asana. Can you share how you leverage the Asana and Slack integration?
Oh, yes, everyone has access to the Slack integration. It's the first integration we asked them to do, and it is really helpful to use them together. Although Asana is our central place for work, sometimes there are those one-off conversations or questions that the whole team does not need in their inbox. And then what's great about that integration is that if this conversation becomes actionable, I can easily just turn it into a task and apply it to the correct task within the project. And then the entire team has visibility and we're able to continue the conversation and the comments of that thread.
At Asana, we are also avid users of the Slack Asana integration. Since transforming your team's processes with Asana, can you tell us how work has changed for your team?
I think at a high level, it's helped my team in 3 key ways. First, enabling us to stick to our timelines and quickly align without skipping a beat if timelines change. Launch dates do change all the time. And when we used to track things in Excel, it was a struggle to ensure everyone knew the update. Now that all changes are documented and communicated in Asana, nothing falls through the cracks and everyone is working toward the same deadline. Second, everyone is working with much more agility. I have some new people on my team, and standardizing processes with Asana templates has helped them hit the ground running much quicker than I would expect. And if someone leaves the team or someone goes on PTO, we're able to seamlessly hand off projects to each other with relatively little friction because all the information everyone needs is right there in the project. And lastly, quite simply, my team can spend more time on high impact work. The time savings really have been significant. We're saving so many meetings, so many Slack messages, so much manual back and forth because we have all the information we need just in one place. This means that everyone is spending the majority of their time on what matters most, the work that drives successful sponsorships and impact for our business.
Wow. Thank you so much for that great walkthrough of the value you've realized with Asana. I am so energized just hearing how you were able to accomplish so much with the tool in such a short period of time. What's next for you and your team in 2023?
Well, I'm encouraging Asana adoption among our division's brand team. Since we do work so closely with them, coordinating work in Asana would save us time and streamline communications for sure. We're going to continue tweaking our templates and workflow to increase efficiency even more. We always love finding those little things. Promo managers will ask us, oh, can you add an extra task to the template? And I'm always so happy when they come to me with requests and that we can take care of them so quickly. And then I'm excited about leveraging a few of the new features Asana is launching, like time tracking, which will give us a better idea of who can handle what and avoid assumptions, as well as bundles. I think will be a big time saver and help standardize our processes even further.
We cannot wait to see the success that you and your team drive this year. Thank you again, Julia, for your time. And hopefully this conversation serves as inspiration for the many other leaders in the audience who've tuned in to learn from you today.
Of course, I'm happy to be able to share the success of my team at Asana. It's really been a game changer.
Thank you for joining us today at Asana Forward. If you have any questions about any of the content we covered, please do not hesitate to reach out to your Asana rep or contact us at asana.com/sales. We hope you found this valuable and want to thank you for taking the time to join us. Keep an eye out on your email as we will be following up with post-event resources, including a recording of this conversation. Thank you.